recording now, and then we'll get going with the presentation. So although I'm not based in Australia, I'd also like to recognise the traditional owners of the different lands, countries and places that attendees are engaging from today, and repay respects to all elders, both past and present, and extend that respect to other Indigenous people who are present here today. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is CIBSE membership and the benefits of that. So there are lots of benefits to becoming a member of CIBSE. So I'm just going to go over a few key ones. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is our CIBSE journal, and this may be something you might already be aware of, but if not, this contains all the latest news, articles, career vacancies and upcoming training opportunities. So it's written partly by our members as well as other industry experts. So anything kind of going on in building services, anything we're doing at CIBSE, it will go into this magazine, and you get a monthly copy of that as part of your membership with CIBSE. The ANZ region also produced a podcast called Talking Buildings. This is a topical discussion with industry leaders from around that particular region, and guests discuss their topics and opinions from cutting edge technology, as well as leadership strategies, to current issues impacting building services professionals. You'll also get members only access to the knowledge portal. Again, this is a huge resource. It has thousands of publications, articles, and the latest CIBSE guides and standards that you may use in your day-to-day role. And you can download these electronically for free, or I believe you can get a hard copy at a much discounted price. You're also joining a network and a community of over 21,000 building services professionals, and we are present in 97 different countries. You'll also get 20% discount on all of your CPD that we do. So that could be, a technical training course, could be an event, a networking thing. So all of the CPD that we do. And last year, the ANZ region did a seminar series on going from great to good. And I believe there might be something in the works for this year. I'm just going to ask Sharon, is there something else that you're doing this year with the seminar series?
Yes, 100%. We are in the process of planning that one. So my colleague Tiana is working with an advisory group, and I think I mentioned earlier, so we're looking at, we did a poll, and our themes were likely to be, again, electrification, designing for low embodied carbon buildings, net zero, and upgrading building stock are some of the themes that we're going to look at covering across that series this year.
Amazing. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to a bit more of what we do. So we also have 5 CIBSE societies that you can get a professional level of membership in. So if you do work in one of these areas, you can get involved in these societies, or even if you don't, again, you can get involved, and it's a really good opportunity for you to gain some specialist knowledge and voice your opinions on those platforms. So we've got our lights and lighters, public health, facade engineers, the ventilation engineers, and then our digital engineers as well. So again, quite a wide range. We also have our Australia and New Zealand regions, which Sharon supports, and they're split into 8 different chapters, and they run a variety of annual technical, soft skills and social events across New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, South Australia and Auckland. And the committee also run, I think as Sharon mentioned, annual Young Engineer Awards for students, graduates and young engineers in the region. Finally, you can also obtain free membership through one of our or more of our 19 special interest groups, and each one does focus on a different area of building services, such as energy performance, intelligent buildings and homes for the future. Again, really good opportunity for you to gain some more knowledge in those areas. Okay, so now we're going to move on to membership grades. So what is it that we have on offer? So we have a bunch of entry-level grades. These are really simple. There's no prerequisites, so you don't have to have a qualification or anything like that. You just have to fill in your application form, pay your subscription fee for the year, and you can become a member. Although I should say for the graduate grades, you would need a qualification, but for student and affiliate, that's slightly different. And then for our professional grades, we have licentiate, associate, member, and fellow. So these come with additional set of benefits as they act as a level of professional recognition. You can use these post-nominals after your name, and you can also achieve enduring council registration alongside them too. We do always say have a think about becoming an entry-level member first, so you're able to more, sort of integrate more with CIBSE, make sure we're the right home for you, and also have access to our benefits before upgrading. And when you do apply for grade or professional memberships, you can also get engineering council registration. So you can become an engineering technician with our licentiate grade, you can become an incorporated engineer with our associate grade, and then finally you can either become incorporated or chartered with our MEM grade. So although fellow's not on the screen, fellow you can also become chartered with as well. So there are lots of benefits to becoming professionally registered. It does give you instant recognition that helps you stand out from your peers, but it's also an indicator of your professional status and shows you feel both UK and international standards. So that's really highly respected by employers across the world. And there's your competence as well. So this professional qualification acknowledges and demonstrates your academic knowledge and career experience to date, and it also demonstrates you've been peer assessed and found competent by other chartered engineers within building services. But ultimately, research has shown that registration can boost your salary prospects, career progression, and ultimately give you better opportunities for professional development. But there are also benefits for your employer. Registration gives your employer the reassurance of your experience, as they know by you being registered, you've been thoroughly assessed of your competence by industry experts. But it also shows you know about the CIBSE Code of Conduct and you will use that Code of Conduct. But in terms of prospects, it demonstrates excellent technical ability in the workplace, so it should help your employer with their business bids and tenders, as it shows clients how many registered engineers there are in the company, which in turn increases their technical credibility. So it's worth finding out the ways in which your employer can support you. And if you really push the benefits for your employer, they possibly might pay for your membership fees. Who knows? You can give that a go as well. But if your employer is already supporting you, you think they're doing a great job of that, you can nominate them for the Employer of the Year awards, and we will give them that recognition. So how do we assess you? So there is a difference between the membership side and the engineering council side. So your CIBSE membership, which is your professional grade, we're purely going to be assessing you and your ability to meet a set of competence criteria. Whereas the engineering council, so that could be your IEng or your CEng, for example, they're going to be looking at your academic qualifications, or rather your academic knowledge and understanding. I'm going to go through the academic requirements for incorporated and chartered engineer in the next couple of slides. But if you find you don't have a relevant qualification or you don't actually hold a qualification, that doesn't mean you can't get registration. You can do so, and that will just be through a different route, which I will explain. Okay, but in terms of qualifications that would be acceptable for incorporated status, if you have an international qualification, so that's a non-UK based degree, and it's on the Sydney Accord, we would accept that for IEng. And then anyone with a European-based qualification, if it's on the FIANI database as a first cycle degree, that would be acceptable for IEng. And anyone on the call with a UK-based qualification, if you started before 1999, we would accept and approve BTEC, HNC or HND. And post-99, you'd need a bachelor's degree. But CIBSE also do what's known as a qualification assessment. So this is where if you have a qualification, but it's not on an accredited list, you can send that into CIBSE and it goes to a panel. They'll have a look at that qualification or qualifications, and they will assess it. If they feel it meets certain requirements, they can independently award IEng, and that's the same for CEng as well. So that qualification is there for both of those levels of accreditation. But in terms of academics accepted for CEng, this time international, if it's on the Washington Accord, We'd accept that for CEng. If you started your degree after 2015, you would also need to do an MSc. European qualifications, again, the FIANI database, but this time as a second cycle degree. And then UK-based qualifications, pre-99, a bachelor's degree, and post-99, an accredited MEng, or the equivalent. And now we're going to move on to routes. So, as I mentioned, there's more than one route into membership and registration, but there's two main routes the majority of applicants will go down. So the first route I'm going to talk about is the standard route. So this is for an individual who has an accredited qualification. And I'm going to outline these routes through using examples. So this individual wants to achieve the member grade with chartered engineering status, and this individual holds an accredited MEng degree in building services engineering from the University of Reading, which they achieved in 2015. So because their qualification is accredited for CEng, they can apply through the standard route. So the first bit is to get all their documents together, including their engineering practice report. And when they're ready, they can submit their online application. If successful, they'll be invited to attend a professional review interview. And then the score sheets from the interviewers and their report will go to a CIBSE registration panel. The panel will look at those documents, and if successful, they would achieve both their CIBSE and their CEng together in one go because they have that accredited qualification. So the alternative route works in the same way, but the outcome at the first step is different. So this route is for someone who doesn't have an accredited qualification at, say, CEng level, or it could be someone who has years worth of experience, but perhaps they started as an apprentice and then they worked their way up. So they've got years of experience, but not necessarily any academic qualifications. But again, I'm going to use an example here to demonstrate this route. So this individual also wants to achieve CIBSE with chartered status, but this time they hold a bachelor's degree in building services engineering from the University of Reading, which they obtained in 2015. So in this case, they're partially accredited for CEng, but not fully. So the first step of the alternative route is the same as the standard route. They would submit their online application, which included their engineering practice report and their other documents. But this time they get invited to attend a competence review interview, as they're purely being assessed on their competence and not their competence and their academics. So then the score sheets go to a panel, and at the end of this process, they would get their CIBSE membership, which is great. So if at that point, if they want to then go on and achieve incorporated status or chartered status, they can do that through step 2 of the alternative route. So at the moment, there's two options for applicants at this point, but we are working on doing a streamlined version of the alternative route, which we're hoping to launch this year. So that's a bit of a watch this space. But at the moment, as I say, there's two options. So the first is known as the technical report route. So you can write a technical report on a topic of your choosing, which can be specific to the professional experience and knowledge that you individually hold. The purpose of that report is to demonstrate you hold the knowledge and understanding within building services at an equivalent level to a bachelor's if you're applying for IEng, or a master's if you're applying for CEng. You would then attend a technical report interview. The score sheets and the report would go to the panel, and at the end of that process, you would get the IEng or CEng, depending on what you've applied for, on top of the membership that you have already achieved in the first step. However, if you want to go back to university, there is another option known as the further learning route. So in our example, we had an individual that was partially accredited for CEng. So they had a bachelor's degree and they wanted to get their CIBSE. So since then, they've decided they want to go back to university and do their MSc, which they've now done. So now they are fully accredited for CEng. So rather than complete a brand new report, what they do is they update the engineering practice report they already submitted, and then they'll attend another interview where they kind of expand on that, what they've learned from the MSc, how they've applied that practically, and what now they hold in terms of experience. Then those documents go to panel, And then at the end of the process, they would also get their IEng or CEng, depending on what they've applied for. In this case, they would get their CEng. So, in summary, if you don't have academic qualifications, you can still achieve registration. You just need to take an additional step. When you do come to submit your application, I mentioned there's a few other documents you need to be aware of. So the first is a demonstration of competencies form, which is filled in by your sponsor. So for professional grade of membership, you must have one sponsor. Your sponsor can complete that demonstration of competencies form, which is found on the website. And this is one page where they will be expected to fill in one paragraph for the overarching competence sections of the A to E. And we have two rules around who can be your sponsor. So you must have known your sponsor in a professional capacity for at least 1 year. And we can be flexible if you've known them around 10 months at the point of applying. And they must be at the same level of membership and or council registration that you are going for or above. So for example, if you were to apply for CIBSE, so the member grade, your sponsor would need to be an CIBSE themselves, not necessarily hold the CEng, but just be CIBSE, or they would need to hold member level and chartered status with another institution if they're not a member of CIBSE. So that's absolutely fine for you to use someone else, as long as they have that CEng if they're applying for the CIBSE, or the IEng if you were going for associate. We also accept chartered members of REBA and members of CIOB, and we do also accept some international sponsors if agreed for the panel before you apply. So if you know someone, for instance, at Engineers Australia, you may be able to use that individual. We would just need their details before you apply. So we also need a copy of your CV in chronological order. Then we need your engineering practice reports. Then we need an organisational chart, and if you preferably one that you have currently that you work with. But if you don't have one for a current employer, you can use a historical employer. And then finally, a development action plan. So you'll need to give a summary of your short, medium, and long-term goals. And this is around 150 words per section. And there are examples of all of these documents on our application help section of our website. And we also have a link here called Planning to Apply for Membership. So there is a few pages that we designed where you can go step by step as to what you need to do to apply. I'm also going to mention one other route as well, which may be applicable for some people on the call. So this is a fast track route for individuals that already hold full membership with one of the 5 signatories on the screen. And you gained membership of that institution via your normal qualifying route. So we've got Engineers Australia, the Institution of Professional Engineers New Zealand, Hong Kong Institute of Engineers, Engineers Ireland, and then the Institution of Engineers Sri Lanka. So in addition to holding the membership with one of the mentioned signatories, you also must have attended a professional review interview and hold a recognised academic qualification. And you'll need to meet all of these 3 requirements to be eligible for the fast track route. And again, when you come to apply, there's some things you need to be aware of. Your online application has to have your sponsor's details. You have to have copies of your degree certificates and your transcripts, which are countersigned by your sponsor. And you need to have your member certificate with your home signatory and a CV. So you can apply at any time for the mutual recognition route, and it will be checked by a member of CIBSE staff. Then your application is submitted to the membership panel, which meets every 2 months, and then the results of your application will be emailed to you. So again, guidance on that route can be found on the CIBSE website. Okay, now going back to the standard and alternative route, you need to write your engineering practice report to demonstrate your competence. And the Engineering Council has designed a list of competence criteria that each applicant needs to show they can meet. And this is part of your professional recognition application. So you can look back on the entirety of your career, and you need to provide the strongest examples you can think of to meet the 17 criteria. So your A and B competencies are all about your technical skills and engineering knowledge and how you apply these in the professional roles you've held. So how you solve engineering problems. And then the rest of the criteria looks at your soft skills. So C looks at your technical and commercial leadership, your management skills, and how you handle responsibilities. So that could be responsibilities of people, but it could be of budgets, it could be of technical content. So there's lots of different ways to demonstrate responsibility. D looks at communication and personal skills. So that could be how you talk to your internal staff. It could be how you liaise with clients, that sort of thing. And E looks at your commitment to engineering. So how do you comply with the CIBSE Code of Conduct, health and safety, ethics, CPD, and sustainability. When you do come to write your engineering practice report, there is a lot of support initiatives that we run. So we do report review services where you can speak to a professional CIBSE reviewer and they can review your application and your draft report before you submit. We also have free sample reports on the website that you can download. And I also run a How to Start Your Engineering Practice Report webinar. I'm doing one of those next week. I appreciate it is UK time, so we are going to put this on demand as well on the website, so you'll be able to access it whenever you would like to review that content. So I'm just going to also touch on how the interview works. So after you submitted your online application and your engineering practice report has been checked, you'll be invited to attend an interview, and you'll be notified 2 weeks prior to your interview date when your interview would take place. And this is your opportunity to verbally demonstrate an example for each of the competencies again. So you'll be expanding on your report to demonstrate your competence. The interview lasts around 1 hour and will take place over Microsoft Teams. You'll be interviewed by 2 professional members of CIBSE who have undertaken special training, and we do try our best to pair you with someone from at least one individual from a discipline that you do. You'll do a 15 to 20-minute presentation where you demonstrate the competencies. And then after your presentation, your interviewers will ask you questions for around 30 minutes or so around kind of what you said in your report and why you made certain decisions, that kind of thing. So all about the methodology. And then you'll have 5 minutes to add anything if you feel you've missed something. Support and guidance can be found on the website, and we do have that linked up to the slides here. So some important dates. So for the mutual recognition route, you can apply at any time and you'll be processed at any time. But if you're applying through the standard and alternative route for one of our professional grades, there are 4 dates a year that you can apply. So you can apply on the 1st of December and your interview would take place between January and February. The 1st of March and your interview would take place between April and May. The 1st of June and the interview is July or August, or September, and your interview is October and November. So the next one coming up is June, and then the one after that is September. And now I'm going to pass on over to Sharon, who is going to give you some more information about the assessment for RPEQ. Just a little brief introduction, and then Sharon, I can talk about it a bit more if you like, or you can take the lead on this one, whichever is easiest for you. Oh, Sharon, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I don't have the slides in front of me, so I think if you've got the information,
oh, sure.
I would. I'm happy to add in any bits of anything that I know, but I think Julia's popped all the relevant information into the slides, so she should be okay.
Okay, fabulous. No problem. So as of January 2022, CIBSE is an approved assessment entity to carry out assessments on behalf of BPEQ to determine eligibility for registration. So MCIBSE applicants can apply for RPEQ assessment alongside their membership application, and there's no additional requirement as the criteria for ongoing RPEQ assessment is equivalent. So equally, non-members who hold a lower grade of membership can apply only for their RPEQ assessment. And whilst candidates are assessed against our member criteria, they're not required to join the institution on successful completion of this process unless they wish to do so. So at the point of completion, candidates can be advised on their options as well. So in addition to the CIBSE member competence requirements, you must meet the following requirements if you want to apply for this. So you need an accredited degree recognised under the Washington Accord, or a qualification that has been assessed as equivalent by Engineers Australia. You need at least 4 years postgraduate experience and at least 2 years of responsibility for significant engineering work. And for applications for non-members, you can apply for RPEQ through the same process as our MCIBSE CNG applicants, submitting a 4,000 to 5,000 word engineering practice report. You need to attend a full professional review interview with CIBSE and RPEQ registered assessors. And you can also gain MCIBSE CNG with this assessment. And on approval, apply to BPEQ, and CIBSE will provide a letter of confirmation. And fees payable for this assessment is $180 on application and a $260 for a professional review interview. So I don't know a lot about that process, but I know that's something that we do, so we thought we'd include that today. So that is the end of the presentation. If anyone has any questions, please do pop them through. If you do have any questions about the last bit which I talked about, which is the RPEQ, I won't be able to answer those today, but Sharon may be able to help there. So yeah, thanks for listening. And yeah, I'm just going to pause now to